Hey, what's going on, fam? It is hump day. It's Wednesday. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to be diving back into this mix to finish it up. And I thought, hey, why don't I live stream it? Right? So I've been doing a lot of live streaming lately. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it and you're getting a lot out of it. And if you are, you just got to pay the fee, right? And the fee is you got to share the show. You got to drop a comment. You got to throw a little thumbs up or whatever, just contribute, basically. Don't be a mouth breather. Don't be weird. Say what's up in the chat and drop your questions in the chat. All right. I am finishing up this song. It's by Ryan Helm. It's called Time and Space, and I'm working in Pro Tools. So before we get started in Pro Tools, I just want to make a disclaimer that a lot of you guys, love to talk about. I don't use Pro Tools. I use Logic. This isn't going to be helpful to me. It doesn't matter what DAW you use. You're going to get a lot out of this stream if you're looking to get better at mixing, mastering, editing, vocal processing, etc. Okay? I'm going to show you all the plugins I'm using. Today, we're really going to be working on getting this sonically tightened up and working on the master bus and all that good stuff. So we'll do some fun shit. If you do get anything out of the show and you want to support the channel, you can drop a super chat, which means you can, buy me a coffee or whatever. I think it's in the chat. You'll see it. If you just want to get everything for free, then that's fine too. If you're a broke ass motherfucker, that's all good. Just make sure you play your role, share the show if you get anything out of it. And if you don't get anything out of it at all, then fuck off. Don't come back. I'm cool with that too. What's up, fam? Skinny man. The skinny man. All right, cool. Who else is in the building? What do we got going on in the digital building? All right, let's get into Pro Tools. Say what's up if you're here. Don't be a creep. All right, and ask questions if you got them in the chat. All right, I'm here to help you guys. I'm not here to do anything else but mix for my clients and help them get their shit heard and answer your guys' questions if you got any. Okay, so where we're at, let's listen to it. Let's kind of go through the whole thing. And let's A/B it against the reference all the way through. That's something I love doing. I love playing it from the beginning and then going reference, my mix, reference, my mix, etc. So let's just do that. We have the reference up at the top here. It's going through monitor left, right, which is just going to be the stereo out, which is this master bus. And then we have everything else going through the master augs, and that has some plugins on it. And we'll go through that in this stream. All right. So let's check it out. I'm going to start with my mix, and I'll just bounce between the reference and my mix as we play through. not going to play it all the way through, but you kind of get the gist, right? We're kind of opening this thing up, making it bigger, better. That's the idea. Make it sound like a record, not like a demo, right? So that's my job. Bring it to life. Mouth breathing. Don't do your mouth breathing unless you have to. We'll have my first production duty soon, turning my friend's music into a cohesive sound, and this is the first time I will work with other people. Sweet. Sweet deal. Let me see here. And arrange it. However, I'm not sure how I should approach turning their idea into the sound that they desire. How would you set your boundaries between your vision and their vision as a producer? I think that's a hard thing because I don't know how far along you are in your music career. But when someone comes to me to produce something, I'm going to say, like, you're coming to me because you like what I do. You know what I mean? So that's a big thing. That's a big deal, right? I have credits. I have records. I have things that I've done. I have my own songs. I have a calling card, if you will, a catalog of things that I can show and sort of, you know, people can hear and go, wow, I really like that. Or I don't really fuck with that, so I won't really want to work with you, right? But typically people want to work with you as a producer because you've done stuff, right? Producer means you're producing. You're putting out stuff. You have records out there. You have a product. You have produced over and over and over and over again. That's what a producer is. So before that, you're just kind of collaborating with people and you're experimenting and you're finding your sound. And that's okay. So as far as like boundaries with their vision and your vision, you guys are working together. You know what I mean? Unless you're a very well-established producer. Otherwise, you need, and even well-established producers, I'd say I work with my clients a lot of the times. You know, it's just kind of part of the game. But you want to be able to finish. You want to be able to see the vision of the final product. And if you're not there yet, then you need to practice and you need to put out a lot more music and you need to finish a lot more. And I would say getting in the habit of finishing is what a producer does. Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to get it to jump out of the speakers. It's very important. It should sound like a record, not a demo, right? I'm not trying to have it this like little mono thing in front of you. I want it to wrap around you. So right now, what I'm hearing are a couple things I want to work on, right? So let's go to this part here where I think the vocals kind of start to get a little lost. I'm saying this now and be out loud. I'll say innocent is the way we'll see, believe, and indifference. Right, so right here is just like, what is happening, right? And I think an important part of getting this mix right is understanding that you don't need to like bring everything up because a part gets bigger. Like, for example, I think an amateur, you know, without experience would go like, I need to turn the vocal up right here, right? Not necessarily. It gets busier right here. So we want to make more space for the vocal is how I see it. Because I like the levels. I think everything sounds like at a good level and at a good clip, but it's not, you know, it's like the vocals come in there and you're like, because there's up, down, down, there's more stuff going on, right? So one thing that's really starting to get in the way is the guitar, the electric guitars. Also, the bass kind of gets heavier here as well. We can listen to the bass and the vocals together, right? And just start to solo out things that you think might be conflicting. Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifference is on view. Right, so I feel like that bass is right in the middle, and it's conflicting with the vocals because it has like that mid range to it, right? So I have this track spacer here for a reason, and that's to accept the sidechain here as the louder left, whatever, it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. But if I take the vocal bus, the vocal mix bus, right, let's go to the Vox mix, and we're just going to send that vocal duck. See, that says vocal duck mono. I'm sending out from this vocal mix bus, which is all the vocals landing here, and I'm sending out to that. So let's go to the sidechain on that bass and the track spacer, and let's set it to the vocal duck mono, right? See if we can find it right here. Right now, this is going to be accepting the sidechain. If we hit this little circle here, we can get the advanced panel, and we can mess with the attack and release of that. You could even just hear the sidechain soloed out. But I just want to duck this. I think the attack and release are a really good starting point here, especially with a slow vocal like this. Now I want to just kind of duck it a little bit, right? So very, very small. I don't want to hear this. It's very important that I don't hear this, actually. But I do want to make a little room for that vocal in the middle here.
Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifferences of you.
All right, so we see what's happening here is it's ducking the bass every time that vocal comes in on those frequencies that are the mid-range of the vocal. Okay, so super important, and just giving us a little room. Now, if you wanted to see how much is going on this bass, you could just look at this, and the vocal's like right in here, right? And watch what happens with the bass here.
Innocent is the way we've seen, believe.
Right, so that's a big issue if you have just like the bass right up the center, and you have the vocal right up the center on top, and the bass is going at a higher clip, it's playing harder. And we just need to make room. That's all we're doing with that track spacer without EQing too much and without worrying too much about, you know, it's kind of like a set it and just kind of tuck it back sort of thing. And that way we get more of the vocal on this part, which I like. I think that's going to work great. And we can do that with any other track that's sort of congesting that area for the vocal. Instead of just bringing the vocal up in volume and starting to hit our master bus processing, our vocal mix bus processing, all those things harder, we just want to make more room for the vocal. All right, so that's my first thing and thought process when it comes to that. The other thing is this guitar. So just listening to the guitar here, and also this Spitfire glass pad. So as we get into this, I'm going to solo out this pad. All right, so those really aren't too in the way of the vocal, but maybe this synth loop is getting a little bit in the middle. So after the true verb or before the true verb, I might do some chorusing, like something to even spread this just a little bit more. So it's just out of the middle. You could simply just throw on a Pro Q3 and EQ that does mid-side, right? And you could grab this area and go, okay, I want this to be, yeah, see, I can't even do that because this is like a stereo loop. But if you had this like a mono and you wanted to do some mid-side EQing, you could do that. I'm not going to do that on this anyway, but I was going to show that to you. Instead, I'm going to just do some chorusing with like a Juno 6 kind of chorus. Whatever you got. You might even just have built-in chorusing. It's fine. And this will go mono to stereo, which is, it's already kind of mono to stereo with that true verb. Let's add it. And then we can do either 1 or 2. 2 is going to be even more chorusing, kind of detuning. But just a little bit of this goes a long way. There's some presets here that are pretty good, like just light chorus, mode 1, mode 1, 2, whatever. And yeah, we'll just go depth, phase, we'll mix it in, right? And listen to what it does as far as keeping the synth out of the way of the middle. So that's a really cool way to do that. And you're not really hearing the chorusing too much because this is already a pretty affected synth loop kind of thing. So it just kind of gives it more vibe as well. Nothing wrong with it, right? Like you're like, hell yeah. And I might just give this a little bit more, but that's going to keep it out of the middle of where the vocal is. And then there's another synth loop here, which says Kill Bill Legato synth. Let's listen to this. This might be a little bit in the middle. So that's the other way I would do this, is just duck the middle, of that 1200. This is where the vocal really is, like 1K to 2K. That's where you get like the fundamental of the vocal. So I'm just kind of tucking that back just a touch. Not much, right? And you could turn that on and off and just hear the difference, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just kind of showing you how I clean up the middle so the vocal can come through a little bit more. And if those synths really get in the way and they become a big problem, another thing that I might do, because they will go through compressors and processors that are going to bring the gain back up once they hit the instrument mix bus and the all instruments bus up here, is you have these instrument mix and the limiting here, right? So you're bringing in some limiting, which is bringing the gain back up, but I also have a spreader here to kind of keep that more out of the middle. But after that, you can always put, and I might already have it on the all instruments. Nope. Okay. So after that, you can put another one, a Soothe 2 or something. Even it could be a multiband compressor that ducks the middle, or a dynamic EQ that ducks the middle, right? So for example, you have the instrument mix here. Let's go to Oak Sound and pop on the Soothe 2. And then on this, we can do the side chain the same way, right? So sending from the instrument mix, the vocal, we're going to accept the key input on the same spot, the vocal duck mono, and then just find the area, right? So maybe it's right in the, 1K, 1200, whatever area, and just focus on this area. Make sure you turn on the side chain, right? And then this will duck even like just when the vocal hits. And I find that you get like very minimum phase shifting or any problems at all if you just go like 2 times and do this at like a high. And the resolution and the oversample is really going to help it just sound really good. You can do soft or hard, but I'll show you what that looks like. Right, and if you want that to be smoother and not as phasey and stuff, right, you want to mess around with the sharpness and the selectivity here. So the sharpness, you can turn that down and you can make it more selective, and then just open the band up a little bit more too. Check it out. Right, and this is also a good opportunity just to bring the vocal up as well with a little bit more gain, just because it's a bigger part. So we do want everything to kind of come up and lift up, and that's cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to make sure that I take care of whatever's masking. Like if you have EQ frequency masking, the center, the middle, image is where the vocal is going to sit. And we have all this width with the vocal, right? We have the reverb return of the vocal. You can do the same thing with the reverb return, which is really fun. That's pretty, if you want to get into like really getting technical with it. But for me, I just want to make a little bit of space. And then we'll go to the vocal here and we can automate this part, right? Just the part where it gets really busy, the drums get bigger. And you can see it in the drum room mic, right? Look at the drum room mic here. It's like he's really starting to play the drums. And I have a group going on with the drums, so I can turn that off. But yeah, the drum room mic is like really banging. So you could check that and see what that sounds like. It's a good time also to start to bring up maybe the overheads, right? I like to do that. I think that's a cool trick when you come into a bigger part, is just kind of automate up overheads, and it just kind of makes everything feel more open and bigger. So for example, right here, I can see that that's kind of where things get a little bit bigger. So right, bam, there. And I can go to my automation and go to my volume and just kind of bring this up just a bump, right? And it'll make things like brighter, more open and airy on the overheads. And then the same thing, like I'll just go down to my vocal, right? And this is pretty much the vocal part here. And go do the same thing. Go volume and bring that up just a touch, right? And we're talking about just like bringing the overall kind of vibe up and level up. And it makes it feel like a bigger spot. And just kind of play it and listen. Right? And then there's just little parts here where I'm like, oh, I need to automate that up. The you, this part here, you can see it kind of like dies out a little bit. So just bring it up. You can also do clip gain on this if you wanted to. It's up to you how you want to gain stage your stuff. For this sort of instance, it's just like bring that bring that up a little bit. And same thing with the double. Like I want to bring that double up with it a lot of the times because I don't want to lose the context between the two, right? So there you go. And then you might want to like, you can push a little bit more to a parallel compressor. You could automate like the reverb a little bit more. You could automate an EQ to make the vocal a little bit brighter, right? In like the 3K area, right? Just simple things to make this part pop a little bit more so the vocal doesn't get lost. And I'm always doing that. So for example, if I wanted to, just on this part, I wanted to have like a, you know, one of my favorite kind of vocal EQs would be like a Pultec, right? And you can go in and go, okay, let's do a EQ P1A, right? EQ P1A, Pultec, bitch. Pultec, whatever. You could use either of these. UAD Pultec. Legacy. All right, this one. That's the one I want. This is my favorite EQ P1A out of all of them. And then on this part, you want to just like boost maybe a little bit of this 3K area, right? And just make it pop a little bit more, you know? And this is a great way to boost because it's very transparent. And then I'll just kind of like make it really broad. So it's like boosting 3K and around 3K, right? And then you can bypass this in and out. And on this part, you turn it on, right? So let's hear it with that EQ.
Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifferences of you. And some see the world as if it has nothing to do.
Right? Just kind of makes it pop right there and bypass it in and out and you'll hear the difference. Little more intelligibility right there as well with that 3K boost, right? And now we can just automate that part. Oops, I didn't mean to click on Melodyne. Go away, Melodyne. I don't need you right now, bro. Go to sleep. All right, so on that part, I could just automate the EQ P1A back in and out. And simply, the best way to do like a bypass in and out on Pro Tools and automate it is just go to like your latch, right? And then when you go here, just bypass it in and out, right? So here. And that did not work. So Let me see here. Boop, 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 doop, boop, beep, beep. So enable automation for master bypass, right? And then you can just come in here, go master bypass. And remember, this is the master bypass. So if you go like this and you turn this on, that's turning it on the bypass. So it's kind of opposite. So you have to just like bypass everything ahead of it, right? Bypass. Boop. And the cool part is we have like a good little empty space where you won't hear that that plugin being turned on or whatever with the automation. So bada bam. And that's really simple. Simple to do, simple not to do. But I always like to do the things that I can do to make the record better, right? All right. Did you try Dove? I don't know what Dove is, but explain. I don't know what it is. Hey, what's up, Zwiff? How you doing, bro? I learned that even masking can be overall vibe. Yeah, absolutely. There's like masking that happens where it makes things feel more glued. You know, a lot of people go and like gate out all their drum microphones, but if a kit is mic'd really well, it sounds much more three-dimensional when you have all the mics going, right? So you don't always want to just like mute out the mics, and you have to use your ears. You really have to hear things and listen and spend the time on it. What's up, Scott? How are you, man? It's good to see you again. I like you guys keep showing up. That's what's up. If you guys get anything out of this, please share the show. Drop some likes, comment on it. Help me get more people in here and help more people. That's the idea. Do you also think that vibe is over technically always what? I don't understand that question. Let's see. Do you also think that vibe over technicality always? No, not always. It depends on the style of music, right? So there might be like, for example, you're not going to say like with math rock, right? It's a very technical genre. So if you have this guy going, and you're like, oh, that's actually a triplet. But then you're like, no, I didn't like the vibe. Like I'm going to change the vibe. That's a little different. Same thing with like maybe some jazz stuff, but when it comes to like most records, when you're talking like indie, rock, pop, R&B, trap, etc., yeah, like I'm going for vibe. I'm going for feel. I want it to be musical. I want it to feel right. Waves Vocal Writer is amazing. It's an amazing tool. I don't want to use it on this because the vocal is very dynamic, and I feel like that's part of the style of what he's going for. If I go and I like vocal ride and I over compress and all that stuff on these vocals, you're going to squeeze out the intention of this feeling more indie, right? You're going to make it sound much more pop. And you have to know as a mixer what that even fucking means, right? You're like, what do you mean more pop? Well, more pop means like less dynamic, right? Indie, like with the vocals, like if it's going like really hyper compressed and it's in your face and it's like over processed, it's just gonna sound shitty. I think you'll lose the vibe of what this record is. And you have to take those cues from the reference and you have to pay attention to what you're mixing and the style that they're going for, right? Like that's just so important. There's so many things to that. There's one thing I want to do with this section as well, is I want to treat it a little differently with the vocals. Maybe it sends to a new reverb or effect or slap delay or something that feels a little bit more like, whoa, like washed out. You know what I mean? Because I can tell it's not so important that we understand everything that he's saying on this part. You know what I mean? It's more like the vocal is playing a melody. You get what I mean? So I might want to mess around with that idea. So down here I have my effects. I have my delay throw. I have my vocal parallel compressor. I have my vocal verb. I have a rap verb, which this is usually what I use on rap verb. I think most engineers use this, like straight up, like the vintage Valhalla concert hall. Like just turn it on. It sounds fucking great for rap. and it just kind of brings a vibe around the vocal, but that's just classic. And then I have like the reverb, right? So this is a little EQ on the top and bottom. This Valhalla space modulator, which is really cool, kind of gives a chorusing effect. And then the chamber. So I could throw it to the reverb. I could throw it to this slap, right? Which is same thing, just like ducking EQ, compressor, right? R-comp, one of the best ever. CLA vocals on slap and some widening, right? The CLA vocal slap is just fucking awesome. It's perfect for me. And then really just like hitting the top, that 7K area with the vocal. So that might brighten the vocal up a little too much. I don't really know, but I'll option click this so the volume's leveled out, and then send some of this to the slap it up just to see if it gives it some more dimension and depth. This is kind of like an 80s throwback vibe too. I hear the analog synths and stuff. So I might want to mess around with maybe an RMX or something that's of that time period. Lexicon 480L, 280L even. Those are really great. But I'm just going to give this first a little bit of this slap it up. We're going to slap it. We're going to butter it up, baby boy. All right. And then I'm just going to like push this into it and see what that sounds like.
Innocent is the way we'll see, believe and
Nope, not doing it. So maybe another one I just thought of on this part is I'll make a new track and we will do the Pulsar Echo Rec, which is awesome. I think this is one of my favorite plugins. I use it all the time on most mixes, especially mixes that need like vibe like this. It's kind of a 70s sound. It's an Echo Rec. You'll see. And then I'll take this. Remember, I always want to color this. Color me bad. I always want to color this bad. Take this to all Vox. All right, let's go to all Vox. And then this will just pop the Pulsar Echo Rec on. Echo Reco. Echo Reco. Hecto Recto. I don't know, I'm just speaking gibberish. That's kind of what I do. I speak a lot of gibberish. I got 2 dogs, so I just speak puppy language to them. And then on here, you might want to go like vocal, find like a slap. There you go, punky slap. Punky slap probably means there's drive. See, so you can see the drive there. We could turn that down if you don't want it to be punky. But feedback, probably on a minimum, right? Disc speed, a little faster, really wet. Actually, I'm going to turn this at 100% because we're sending. And we have some drift, we have some used, and some trebly. Let's just check it out. I don't really know what it's going to do. But here we go. It's jacked up. And you can hear the noise too from the drive. All right, turn it down and no noise, but with it has noise. And then I have this on solo safe, right? So let's just hear the vocal.
innocent is the way we'll see, believe and indifferences of view. Innocent is the way we'll see, believe and indifferences of view. Innocent is the way we'll see, believe and indifferences of view.
It's a little too similar, like trying to do a slap here. I really think you have to do a longer, like it has to be a longer kind of thing. So let's mess with this. Let's make it more swelling. And then let's mess with the delays here and see if we can get something different out of it.
Innocent is the way we'll see, believe and indiffer. Innocent is the way we'll see, believe and indifferences of you. Innocent
it's not working to do like this echo idea. I don't really like that. What I will try though is giving it some like 480L reverb or something, some sort of like new reverb, new texture, new timbre. That's all I'm really looking for. I'm not looking for anything crazy here. So we'll go to UAD and find the RMX. I think might be just like perfect for this kind of idea that I have in my head. And you know, that's the thing, like being able to figure out, like I have this thing in my head, how do I translate it to the record? That's like the hard part for most people when they're starting out with mixing. They're like, I don't know, how does this work? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why you got to practice. What are we looking for? I'm looking for AMS. Okay, so AMS RM16, this guy. And this is just kind of like, I always think like the best digital reverb for that like 80s sound. And you can find some cool presets in here. Let's go to like vocal and we'll go to, let's try the Vox delay plate. Just flip through some of these to see what the vibe is.
Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifferent. Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifference is all.
I mean, that's pretty great, right? Like automatically it sounds really cool. Kind of makes it bigger, but I think I want to have something a little bit more like a chorusy. Let's see if we can find like a chorusy kind of vibe. Here we go. Vocal chorus room, or like a chamber, you know?
Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifference is a view. Innocent, innocent, innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifference. Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifference is of you.
So that's kind of cool. I like that. And to make this a little bit more interesting and to make sure that it doesn't like clog up and congest that area, I'm just going to kind of EQ the return.
Innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifference is of you. And some see the world as if it has nothing to do with innocent is the way we've seen, believe, and indifference is all.
Yeah, see how it changes the EQ as well? I think a lot of times I like to EQ with reverb returns. Like make the vocal a little brighter. Okay, use your reverb. Use a delay. Use a chorus. You know, use things in your return to give you different textures and EQ. It's not always just put an EQ on the track. So hopefully that makes sense. Yo, you're welcome, man. Share the show. Drop a comment. Drop a little like. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Pulsar is super underrated. Very, very good plugins, man. They got some super dope shit. You need to use the Bass Solution plugin. I don't know what that is. So it can take care of the vocals that sit in the mid-range and low-medium source of direction. I like these vocals being low-mid heavy. You know, a lot of people would go and like, oh man, you gotta start sweeping these vocals, and you gotta make sure that they're like, you know, really clear. Like that's not this style of music, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I get what you're saying, young Bevo. It's like, you're like, yeah, then you'll understand what he's saying if you just sweep out and get rid of that low mid stuff. Yeah, but then you change the whole vibe of what he's doing. Like even the way he's singing like this. genres. Da, 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 da. Like, that's what he wants, you know? And I take all, like, you know, you have to really understand different genres, different styles, different songs. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody's looking for a crispy, clear, concise vocal. I don't think that that's the intention of this record at all. So I'll let the artist correct me on that. You know, like if he sends me back revision notes and he's like, yo, I need my vocal to be a lot less low, mid, heavy, and can you make it sparkly? Yeah, cool. All right, I'll do that. But I don't think that the record would sound good like that. You know, just bouncing again back and forth from the reference because I do want to kind of pay attention to what he's got for balances on this spot.
Innocent is the way we'll see, believe, and Innocent is the way we'll see, believe, and
So like there's that high synth, like I'm really hearing that. Let's go to that part. I think it might be this guy here.
Innocent is the way we'll see, believe, and indifference of you.
All right, cool. So that sounds good to me. I really like that. And then what I want to do now is go to the master bus and the vocal mix bus. I'm going to do a couple things here. I like all this. I kind of want to just bring up just a touch of this. And let's check the SSL here. Yeah, that's sounding really great. I really like that. And vocal duck, you know, we're ducking some stuff, letting the vocal breathe a little bit more. We have on all instruments this Pro Q. I don't know how important this is. I'm going to probably take some of this stuff out. Maybe just that's probably good, actually. I'll bring this down. His vocal's a little lower in range, so I'll just bring that down a little bit in the lower range. All drums, bass, I have the MV2, the Pro Q3 doing some of this stuff. That all looks pretty good. Yeah, I might bring this up to like more of the 500 area, like right around here.
You different with me and you. Different with me and you. Different with me and you.
It's getting there. It's getting there, y'all. Sounding pretty damn good. Hey, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you, bro. That's the marketing budget. Throwing the marketing budget at it. Yeah, man. It's getting there. I'm just tweaking and shit. But you guys have any questions about what I'm doing at all? Oh, Acoustica Dove. All right, I'll check it out, man. There's so many plugins, man. Oh, okay, gotcha. It's their version of Soothe. Yeah, there's a bunch of different versions of Soothe. I'll tell you, like, none of them do as well as Soothe does, especially Soothe 2. They all want to be Soothe 2. They just can't do it. Thanks, Zwift. Appreciate that, bro. So now I'm like, I want to like hit this with a little bit of maybe some soft clipping, maybe like gold clip right at the end, and I'll mess with some stuff to do some things. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. But do you deal with artists that suffer from demoitis? If so, how do you get the record to a finished state? I'd say most artists have demoitis, right? Because most artists don't release enough music, so they're so worried, especially independent artists, right? They're so worried that, like, you know, it has to be perfect, right? It has to be perfect. And if they worked on it, then it's perfect, right? But if you work on it, then they're gonna, some artists are just so in control. They want to be so in control of their art. They get carried away with thinking something that's super mediocre is really good. And that's where demoitis comes from. They just hear it over and over and over again. And then they go down this tunnel where they're like fucking, just like really doing stupid shit, and they can't hear it right. And they're in a bedroom and they're using HS5s, HS8s. It's totally untuned. They have peaks and dips all over their room, and they're EQing with like this crazy intent, like microscopic focused way that they're just completely lost. Most independent artists are completely lost with what they're doing. They don't release enough music. They don't get enough into their craft where they can step away from it and go, okay, I'm really good at this, this, and this, but I suck at this, 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 and this, right? So I'm going to try and not do those things that I suck at. Instead, they just think they're good at everything. Or they think because they did it, they made the song, they produced the song, they mixed the song, they recorded the vocals, they wrote the song, they did all this stuff, that's the way that they want it. That's their intention with the song. And it's like, well, yeah and no, because you may not have the skill set. You're just not at that level with your skill set to be intentional with it. Hopefully that makes sense. It's like I painted my car and I, watched YouTube tutorials and stuff. So I painted it so it looks good and that's how I want it. That's my intention with this car painting. But it's like, is it? Or do you lack skills in certain areas? The finish, the glossing, the sparkle, the things that are really important, right? That you just don't know about and you don't have the tools for. Like you don't have the garage, you don't have the different paint brushes, you don't have, the different lacquer and all that stuff. It's really important to understand where you lack as an artist. And if you are just making art to just make art, then fine, just make art, right? I don't care. Nobody cares. But the best artists in the world, they study technique, right? So if you want to get really good at mixing and you want to mix yourself, you're like, I have to be able to be the guy that mixes my shit. I got to do everything all the way from start to finish. Then you need to dial in on the skill set and the craft of mixing and sonics and EQs and compressors and different plugins and understand what they do, what they're modeling as far as their analog counterparts. You really have to dive into that as a study. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to get demoitis because you're hearing it in your room on your speakers, your song that you've spent so many hours on, days on, weeks on, months on, and you're obsessing about something that's mediocre at best. You may decide it's the best thing in the world. You put it out there. No one gives a shit. No one listens to it. And then you're like, man, that sucks. What happened? I thought it was perfect. Perfection is in the eye of the beholder. This is very subjective. But there are certain things that are not so subjective, like the sonic qualities of a record and the competitive nature of releasing records and the listeners on Spotify, Apple Music, and the streaming services. They're used to a certain quality of record. So when you start putting out stuff that's, not very good, like, and I mean like sonically, it's just not good. Like you have screechy, ear bending things that like hurt your ears, and the listener gets irritated by it. And you don't know that that's there because your ears are not tuned to it, whatever it might be. You compress the shit out of something and it's like overdone and overcooked. And that's not the intention of the style of music you're making, right? The listener's just going to go, oh, fuck this. And they're going to skip it because 100,000 songs a day are uploaded to Spotify. And you are competing regardless of whether you think you're competing or not. You live on a planet that is competitive. It's the way it is, right? And to say otherwise, you're maybe a bit delusional, This is just the world we live in, unfortunately. It's not perfect. It's competitive. And music, the music industry, the music business, the art world is highly competitive. So you are fighting for attention, for ears, for someone to listen to your song on Spotify and not the other 999,999 songs that were uploaded that day. So you have to have these edges. You have to get better. You have to skill up. If you're so far from being good at mixing, you should save your money and you should find songs that are really worth your time to put $500 into. You know what I mean? If you feel like that's the song, I spent time on that. I spent, quality time putting a lot of effort into recording, writing, producing that song with people. You got guitar players, you got drummers on it, etc. You should invest in the mix and the master. It'd be stupid not to. I'm going to mix it myself. Bro, it's like me going and being like, yo, I got a cavity. I'm just going to drill it myself. And I know it's not like that, but it is kind of like that. There's a lot of technical shit that goes into this. I mean, when I look at Pro Tools, it's like anyone else looking at this stuff and all these plugins and all these options, and you can completely destroy things because of all the options. If I went into a dentist office, I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that? Okay, how do you operate these machines, I watched a YouTube. I've been watching YouTube, so I know how to operate these machines. It took me over 2 decades to get where I'm at with mixing and be able to treat it like an art, because I know how all the technical stuff works really well. I also have gear that's very, very expensive. My speakers alone are $18,000 speakers, the room that I tuned and the just the stuff I'm using in the room to tune the room, easily I got maybe $10,000 worth of tuning. And I'm talking about broadband absorption, bass traps, diffusers, So it's not, and I went to school and got a degree in sound. I am an educated, college educated audio engineer, which education does not equal intelligence, but you definitely learn some standard practices and things and ways to when you learn something and you go into it deeply, and then you can break the rules on it and you understand the distortion, the clipping, etc. Well, sometimes I want to clip, but you have to know what clips. What is a triode, a diode, a pentode? What are these circuits doing? What do they do to sound? What are these plugins modeling? So that's a really long answer to how do I deal with artists that suffer from demoitis. I just keep learning, keep growing, and every client is different. Every client wants something different. But what I do is I try to bring my sensibility to it, having worked on so many records. And the records that I've worked on have done hundreds of millions of streams by now, right? I've worked on platinum records. I've worked on Grammy, Oscar, Emmy nominated work, I've worked in groups on the highest level of things, from Hollywood movies to award-winning commercial music, to TV shows that that went up for Emmys and stuff, right? So I've been on those projects that are the highest tier projects, and I've worked on the lowest tier shit. Right? I've worked on the record that I'm like, oh my God, this guy cannot hold a pitch. He's all out of time. They're not in the right key, So it's a learning experience. Every record's different. You learn something from every single song. And so demoitis, yeah, you work with your client. You work with the artist. If I send this to Ryan, who's in the chat right now, you guys should say what's up, right? This will be his first release. That's crazy. Your first release is going to be 10 times better than most people's like 30th release, right? But yeah, you have to get to know what style of music they like, and you have to sort of read the room. You have to learn how to read the room really well. Like, I've heard this style of music before. I've worked on tons of records. You know, I worked with Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo. I know the 80s sound very well. I know the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. I'm a 90s kid. You know what I mean? I grew up in the 2000s, the 2010s. I've been in the music industry and business throughout the 2010s and 2020s, right? So I pay attention to all this stuff. I have my ear to it. And that's very, very important. Just studying, practicing, teaching what you know, what you really know, and getting better at it every single day. That's kind of like the whole idea of all of this. I'm never going to claim to know everything, because the minute you start believing your own shit, like, oh yeah, I got it, I'm really good at this, you know, that's the minute that you stop learning and you become obsolete. You become the old guy in the corner going like, well, yeah, man, back in 1996, we had a #1. And then you still make records like it's 1996. Like, I still, you know, I got my guitar, my drums, I record them like this, you know. It's like, yeah, but bro, that's not competitive. Like, nobody's listening to that shit, you know. Like, you have to reinvent stuff. You might make a record with a 90s feel, right? But it still has to sound sonically like 2024, because we have these crazy tools at our disposal, right? And what are you going to do when AI really starts to jump into the music stuff? Because for me, I'm going to be able to capitalize on that. I'm going to be able to leverage the AI technology because I know all this and I know how to plug in the AI stuff. You know what I'm saying? But for a lot of people, they're going to be like, they're going to think that AI is the way that you make everything. They're just going to hit a button and they're going to try to get AI to do what, you know, I've been doing for 20 years and, you know, mastering the concepts, the genres, the feels, the textures, the sonics, the arrangements, etc. You know, yeah, then you just become kind of a curator. So you have to really study this stuff, become a student and stay student. I always think, man, I can get better. I upgrade my equipment. I upgrade my learning. I upgrade everything all the time. You know, that's where all my money gets invested into. That's where all my time gets invested into. Just keep growing and learning. Yeah. Do you have a release date? That's what's up. Well, I think I got to finish the master first, right? But anyway, I'm going to take an ear break, because I have been working on this for about 2 hours now. I worked on it for an hour before I did the stream here. Obviously, that's how everything got color coordinated and all the tracks got put in. And, you know, you could see I muted the vocal reverb throughout until the very end, the print that he has here. I got the Pulsar Echo Rec, which ended up being an AMS RMX, right? We have a lot of processes and a lot of things and details, and now I have to get really minute into the details and go back and forth to the reference and balance the mix exactly how Ryan had it, because I don't want to like have something completely balanced differently, because that's where I think Ryan will be like, what the hell is that, dude? Why'd you turn that synth way up? Or why are my vocals on top of the track like it's a Drake record, you know? Or, you know, like one of you guys recommended in the chat, like, why are my vocals so crispy and bright, you know, when they should have a lot of body and be full, you know? So I'm just paying attention to all this stuff and try and do my best. But that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you got a lot out of the stream. I hope you always get a lot out of these streams. And if you do, share it. Drop a little, those little yellow thumbs really helps the algorithm, you know. Unfortunately, we're all kind of, you know, playing to the algorithm. And Ryan will have to play to the algorithm as well when he goes to drop and, you know, gets on Spotify and Apple Music, you know, and starts making content around the song and stuff. So, yeah, do your part. Share the show. Like it. Drop comments. Super chat me if you feel like I gave you a lot of value. If I gave you $5 in value, hit me with a super chat. It supports the channel. Plus, YouTube's going to take half of it anyway. You guys have a great night. Happy hump day. And I'll see you again soon. Next record.